Welcome to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and Kaysen Community, Kansas. Kaysen Community Radio. Mike, why do I always keep doing that?
We were talking about speech impediments
We
earlier.
were, yeah. So
Obviously, that's, it's referred to as being tongue-tied.
Yeah, definitely. I rented my tongue this morning.
Oh.
Well, to continue on, NAMI stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and it is the largest grassroots advocacy network for people with mental illness and their family members, with over 800 national affiliates and 15 Kansas affiliates, with NAMI Wichita being one of those 15. We provide awareness, support, education, and advocacy for people affected by mental illness. Our purpose here is to provide a community conversation on Kaysen Community Radio that provides insight into what it's like to live with a mental illness. Our intention and our hope is that our program will change attitudes, assumptions, stereotypes about people with mental health conditions. My name is David Larson, right?
I believe so.
Good. I am very pleased and proud to be your host today, and I am a person with mental illness. I am in recovery for major depressive disorder. Like everyone, I struggle with the ups and downs of emotions and the challenges of being fully human, but I am doing great. And I know that I have many gifts to offer my family, my friends, and my community. And it is my pleasure to introduce to our listeners our guest today, which is Charissa.
Hello.
Hello. It's good to have you here, Charissa.
Thank you.
So, Charissa, what is your diagnosis?
My main diagnosis is bipolar 1, and during an episode or a lapse, I go into psychosis where I tend to have visual and audio delusions or hallucinations, and as long as I'm giving my life to God and letting Him help me through it and taking my meds, it seems that I can live a pretty productive life. I am a senior at WSU. However,
Bravo! You really?
Yes,
for my
fantastic.
nursing
Graduate
degree.
here shortly.
Well, I have to take a break due to some of the
Whatever,
circumstances,
but
but I'm
shortly.
still,
But you're a senior.
yeah. The
Wow.
books say senior
That's wonderful.
That is fantastic. You are awesome.
for nursing. So,
Oh,
and I want to
right.
work in mental health later. So eventually I'll get back on track with that. I'm just taking a little break, trying to get things in order in me and my son's life.
All right. Well, that's
Wow.
great.
That
All
is.
right.
That's wonderful.
When were you first diagnosed?
Basically, I think I've struggled with bipolar my whole life. The thing was is that I didn't know what I was struggling with, so I just toughed it out. And then when I had my son, there was no way to tough it out because it's like my hormones changed. I ended up having gestational diabetes in the pregnancy, all the signs of preeclampsia except for seizures. I was supposed to go on bed rest in April, but I told my doctor I had to pay my bills, so I waited all the way till July. I had lost 100 pounds, I had kidney stones, and then I had postpartum depression after I had him.
Wow.
So that's when I found out I was bipolar.
Wow. Well,
But as growing up as a child,
Right.
at some point in time, did you figure out that you were different than all of the other children?
Yeah, because when I get hyper, I could stay up for like a couple days or, a while, and everybody else would wear off.
Did not your parental units or people that were around you notice that?
Well, I think they didn't really know what to look for because nobody else in the family had an actual diagnosis for it. So I think they did know I got really depressed, and they did see I'd get really hyper. But I don't think they knew any more than I did what we were dealing with, so we didn't deal with it.
But see, that's part of the reason why it's good for you to come and talk to us about this.
Yeah.
Because somebody listening to this might go, that might explain why my little nephew or my son or my daughter or whatever acts the way she acts.
yeah.
Right.
Definitely
Because,
true.
when you were growing up, there were some indications that you were having some problems, but no one was briefed or had enough experience to know
Right.
how to handle that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, and see, that brings out the whole issue that NAMI has with stigma, because there is so much stigma surrounding
Yes.
mental illness, and the best way to conquer stigma and rise above it is to talk about it. So by having you here to talk about this, we are helping to combat stigma. That is
Right.
great.
We don't want your relatives, your parents or anybody like that to feel bad that
they didn't know.
I didn't recognize. But see, that's the difference between then and now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had also encountered, which makes bipolar worse or any mental illness, I had been molested at age 5, and I did say something, but my mom didn't know what to do. And then later I was raped, which makes the illness worse.
Yeah.
Sure.
With
Wow.
anything. So, I mean, there's a lot of challenges, and I actually am a recovering addict, too. So I
That
have
sounds
6 years.
A little bit like PTSD.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are an amazingly strong
Right.
woman.
I got 6 years sobriety. So
You are
Wow.
Congratulations.
fantastic. Oh, wow.
And she's a student, and wow.
Yeah, well, for our listeners, I'm currently giving her a high five. So
Exactly, yes.
she
Yeah.
deserves it.
Visual.
But
me tell
I
you.
have to tell you, I do give Jesus Christ the glory. I have to, because he's been my rock, and he's helped me through thick and thin. And if I don't ever say it again, I have to say it. I have to tell it, because he's been good to me.
That's good. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSUN Community Radio. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Our Own Voice is intended to humanize a misunderstood, highly stigmatized topic of mental illness by showing that it is possible and common to live well with a mental health condition. So, Charissa, you told us during break that you have a son. Well, actually, before break, in our last segment, you told us that you have a son.
Yes, he's 12.
He's 12 years old. What else can you tell us about him?
He was born the day before July, because I told him, get him out. So, I love him. He's awesome. He actually has ADHD, and we got him help pretty early on. He was about 4 when that went down, and my mom and stepdad for a period of time had to take care of him. It was about 3 years long that he ended up staying with them while I recovered from osawatomie, and that was a time when I was the worst in my mental health, to say the least. I encountered a lot of visual and some audio during that time, and it took me a while to get better and get back on my feet. And that was when I was recovering from the drugs too. So the combination was really hard. But he's doing really well. He sees Dr. Lear, and he has off and on seen therapists and did group therapy at school. I loved his school. They did group therapy, individual therapy. And so he's had so much help, and they say he might not even be on meds when he's 18. So I'm very happy to hear that.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so it's wonderful that you took the incentive and the push or drive to get him checked out there very early on. Most people are afraid to do that, and it's a good thing. It really is. We're here to say it's a good thing.
But that is one of the things that has changed
Right.
between when you were a youngster
Right.
to versus whenever he is, your son is coming up.
I think it's because there's a lot less stigma now.
Yes.
And that's what we are striving for with all mental health issues.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, just to give our listeners some background on you, where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Wichita, Kansas.
All right.
Born at Wesley, but I still like St. Joe.
That's fine.
Yeah, St. Joe's awesome, I have
Yeah.
to admit. So, I had my appendix
And-
taken
and-
out at Wesley, but I like St. Joe as well.
And what high school did you go to?
South High.
South High.
Jesus,
South High Titan.
High Titan.
Okay, folks, you can give an applaud for South High now. That's great.
Yes.
All right, and so have you lived all over Wichita, or
No,
located in one quadrant or another mostly?
just mainly here. I've barely
Okay.
visited out of maybe Texas, Arizona when I was little, Colorado, Oklahoma, Missouri, and that's about the extent.
Okay. So you were saying earlier that your grandparents went to Nebraska?
Yeah, they both graduated from Nebraska,
Yeah.
and my grandma was a math teacher, and my grandpa taught at actually WSU as a professor of
That's
psychology.
That is great.
And she
Wow.
admitted to us earlier that she's a shocker.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I still want a football team, please.
Well, we kind of talked about that too.
Yeah.
Break.
And I tried to tell her that there's one just 2 hours north of
I'm
us.
okay with
And then we started talking about Nebraska football. And,
Yeah.
And then the conversation just totally disintegrated and whatever.
Yeah, but we're still good people all in all. So
Yeah, exactly. But what I kind of wanted to kind of talk a little bit about is that things have changed from the way that it was when you were younger.
Yeah.
In terms of people going like, there's nothing wrong with her, she's fine. No, there's something wrong with the majority of people.
Yeah.
We just have to figure out how bad it is in most
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
Most people are not willing to accept the fact that mental illness is a physical illness with an environmental trigger.
Right.
And we need to hammer that home as many times as possible so that people understand that.
But like you were saying about parents, my mom was very supportive in some ways, but she did take it as her being the problem to me having
Yeah.
the issue.
And that's not the
No,
case.
that's not it.
So, what were you going to say, David?
Well, parents often blame themselves,
Yeah.
and they really shouldn't.
That's right. And you speaking as a parent know very well the guilt that you have and everything that you need to somehow get out of
Exactly.
your body.
It's a brain disorder. The parents did not cause that.
And that's right.
And it's not the person's fault either.
That's right. It's no one's fault in that regard. Well, I didn't get a chance to do this earlier, but I want to do it now. I want to take a moment to offer a thank you to our production team, David Peterson, executive producer, and Mike Padilla, our technical producer. Thank you both very much.
And I get to butt in every now and then.
That's right.
Okay.
So this is Our Own Voice on KSN Community Radio, and we are going to take a quick break and be right back.
If you would like to learn more about the National Alliance on Mental Illness and how you can get involved in mental health advocacy, please visit our website at NAMI.org.
Welcome back to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSN Community Radio. I did it again, Mike. Yep, NAMI is a
I think
National
you've been
Alliance.
cursed for today's program.
Yeah,
Ross, unfortunately.
NAMI stands for National Alliance on Mental Illness. So, Charissa, help our listeners understand that every person with a mental health condition can hope for a brighter future. In other words, what words of hope can you share with us about those who are living with mental illness?
Yeah, I strongly believe that because my whole intent for going to school to be a nurse has to do with being able to encourage people with illnesses that it's not the end of the road and you can still be a nurse, you could still be a lawyer, a doctor, whatever you want. You just have to manage it and stay on top of it and take care of yourself and know like when you're getting off so that you can stay on track.
Exactly. That's wonderful. So, what was the key to your recovery?
Of course, it was God for the first thing that I'll list, and it'll always be that way. And the second thing that I want to say is I always had a support system. So I would make sure I had like my church family, my family. When I was recovering from drugs and alcohol, I had my NACA group. I do a grieving group right now. So I had accountable different groups and different people that would see me on a regular basis. So if I was to be off or off track, somebody would be able to check me and say, hey, you think you know, how are you doing? You know, and kind of get me to see that maybe I'm not doing as well as I think.
Yeah, being accountable is really important, and having those people that can keep you on track is great.
Yeah.
So, do you tend to have people who misunderstand some of your emotions and saying, "Oh, she's going into a manic phase," or "Oh, she's going into a depressive phase," or something like that? Do you get that from people?
I have gotten that in the past. I hate to say half the reason I got sick was I lost my mom and grandma, and I was caring for my grandma as her caregiver. I lost my mom January 7th and my grandma January 23rd. So I went through a lot of shock and trauma, and I think that's half the reason I broke down and fell off.
Yeah, I am so
later
sorry
on.
for your loss.
But they I don't know if it was jokingly or just kind of something that we did because we were so close, but they'd go, "Did you take your meds today?" And
that is a common thing that people, in my opinion, are very cruel about.
Well, yeah, except for the fact that people like me need to have that.
You need a reminder, I suppose.
Well,
And when you know that your loved one is off their meds, it's
yeah.
I have reminders set on my phone, and
Do
I
you?
still forget to take my
occasion?
meds.
You
Yes.
still do. Okay.
So I've come to notice the physical issues that happen with my body, and so I'm like, oh, have I taken my meds? Oh no, I haven't. I better take them right now.
I see.
So yeah.
yeah, it
Meds are
depends
very
what
important.
way they're
I-
saying it.
What I'm talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
is talking to somebody, and they know that you have a problem or an issue or whatever, and then you do something that's out of character or whatever, and they automatically go,
Yeah.
"Oh, you must be off your meds."
Right.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
that's the issue or the difference. You know, have you taken your meds? That's fine, but oh, you must be off your meds.
Yeah.
Right.
Not
and,
so
and
fine.
want
Right.
to blame you for your
Right.
actions or whatever because they can't explain whatever it is that you've done.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, you must be off of your meds or whatever.
Yeah.
That can be viewed as pretty cruel.
Yeah.
Right?
Meds.
Well, it depends
meds
on
are
how
important.
bad the episode is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a
Yes.
psychotic episode that is,
So if it's a friendly reminder, that's
one
okay.
thing, and it's also if it goes off completely the other way, where it's the person is having a major psychotic episode,
Right.
then you probably need to see how you can get that person back on their
Well,
meds.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but it's important for the listeners to understand that meds are important. They are helpful. They are not in be all to end all type thing.
Cure all.
Yeah, there are other things that you do, and you were mentioning what are some of your hobbies, for instance?
I like to sing. I like to swim. I like to read. I like to study. Things like that.
Yeah, I have a reading group that I go to. I love music. I love writing music, and that helps me tremendously. And you were mentioning that you also write music.
Yeah, I'm writing music.
That's great. That is so important. And do you feel like that helps you?
Oh, it helps me so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see? I tend to write just the instrumental music. Do you write lyrics?
No, I write songs. I sing.
You
I'm a
write
singer.
songs. Yeah.
I'm a singer.
So that's awesome.
Mike, you got your keyboard here, so we can take.
Well, we can go in the other room if you want. Just have a little hootenanny jam session.
That sounds good. Hey, you bet. So, what are some other coping skills that you have? Sometimes, by the way, to our listeners, coping skills are also called personal medicine. So you may hear me drop that periodically, but what I mean by personal medicine is coping skills.
But some other people, because I was asking her during the break about hobbies, And it's so, and it actually should be more of what's your passion.
Yeah.
What is it that you pour yourself into that you get something out of that if you didn't do, you wouldn't be a very good person.
Exactly. Oh, and you mentioned another hobby during our break, which was
Yeah, swimming.
swimming. Yeah,
Right.
I like
that's
to swim.
excellent.
Swimming is so much better than drowning.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you grade things,
Yeah, that's true.
So,
When you see it against the
Yeah,
backdrop
yeah,
of everything.
If you have to choose one from the other.
Yeah,
then
definitely. I'm going to swim.
Yes.
I'm a horrible swimmer, but I'm going to swim.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
So,
don't you just love us? We're cut-ups. So, well, I do want to note that. Yeah, I want to ask David a special number because that will lead us into our next section.
Well, the special number you need to listen to is 316-686-1373, and come back, and I'll tell you what that is for.
Exactly. And thank you very much, and we'll be back with Our Own Voice. Welcome back to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and K-Sun Community Radio. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Now, information on how to learn more about mental health and to get involved with the mental health community at NAMI Wichita. David, give us that number again and tell us what you want to tell us.
Well, that number I gave you at the end of the last segment was 316-686-1373.
Or 316-686-1373.
Either way, just give us a call, and we have numerous support groups and classes. We really want to emphasize today the family support. I had a call last night, and this lady's son was at a hospital, and she was really in a crisis situation. And I normally, when I answer that phone, I don't have long conversations, but last night went an hour and 15 minutes because she was in such a traumatic moment in her life.
she really needed to talk to somebody.
Yes, she did. And I'm not guaranteeing that we can do that every time someone calls, but please call us. We do have support groups. But the family members, the people with mental illness definitely have a challenge with their getting their life into recovery and working for them. But the family also has that challenge.
That's right.
And that is evident in my life and with the lives of those with the mental illnesses, their families. And it's an adjustment, and NAMI can be there to help you. We're not going to solve the problem. We're not going to give the quick answer, but we can support you and we can listen to you. And if you call 686-1373, we'll get back with you as soon as we can. That's our answering service. And there's nothing wrong with someone in your family having a mental illness. It's a brain disorder, and it's something that if you go through a crisis period, things aren't going to be like they were before. They're going to be different, and maybe we can help you.
That's right. Well, David, how did you meet Charissa?
I met her just a couple of weeks ago at the Breakthrough Club.
Oh, at Breakthrough. You're another Breakthrough person.
Yes.
Awesome. So what have you done at Breakthrough?
They're wanting me to maybe do like the interview or when you greet new people to come in on Thursdays, and I'm trying to get well adjusted, so I just help out with like the chores and stuff or whatever they ask, dishes, putting flyers up, just wiping windows, whatever. But I get to talk to people about our situations, and we get to share our stories. And one thing I did at school, one of the girls remembered me when I came from Calm Care came down to ComCare to share my story there. And she said, "Oh, I remember you when you came down there." And so we started talking about our stories. So I think what's nice is you get to meet with people that are like you, and you get to share each other's stories, and it's a common ground place to go.
Okay.
And I think it's very stigma-free, too.
Yes, very stigma-free.
Definitely stigma-free.
But yeah, that's the main thing. There are people out there that can and will help you.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to make the call, right?
Yes.
And oftentimes the people that help are wounded warriors. They are people who have been through this and are able to lead you as well. And that's a comforting thought that there's someone who out there who can walk with you a ways.
I've gotten to know David as well as both of the Davids well enough to know that if you have a problem out there and you call David, he will, if he has the time, come and get you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I will. Absolutely.
If there's no other way around it, give us a call. We'll help you. We promise.
That's right. We will find a way. So, what are some of the support groups, David, that we have?
We have family support, which is for the families with someone in their family that has a mental illness. But then we have peer support, which we call connection support, and that is for those that have of mental illness. And neither the families can go into the peers can't come into the families, so it's all confidential. It's just basically sharing your story and hearing other people's stories.
Yeah, and picking up pointers on how to navigate the road of help, because there's a confusing road of help out there, and you need to navigate it sometimes.
Yes.
So, Charissa, what words of hope can you give us?
There is light at the end of the tunnel. You might have to put a lot of elbow grease in there and put some heart and soul in it, but if you're willing to push, you can get out of those ruts and you can have a successful life.
And to borrow on something that you said earlier, not that we're going to force religion on you folks, but God is helpful.
It is very helpful. It was helpful in my life, and that's why I shared it with everybody today.
Exactly. Well, we have been through a lot with talking with Charissa, and she has helped us understand how she has dealt with her bipolar 1. So thank you very much, Charissa, and thank you for talking with us about mental illness, and join us for our next Our Own Voice.
Thank you.